Record. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Aurora here. This is level 2 for Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, lesson 9. It's January 18th, 2023. Thank you to those who are correcting me. Oh, I'm so pleased, Marie. Thank you for that. Marie is in the chat, and she says that was the best dance class ever. Thank you so much. So I'll also speak to that, and this will come through for the archive for people. So yeah, sometimes when I dance, and we dance the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, where's my lasagna? Dance the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance as a group of like small, like trusted individuals who know about this and who are a part of the value system of what FRL is all about. Sometimes it's smooth sailing, and I feel like I'm able, hey, Pedro, good to see you, to impart this sense of like bliss and moving in a frictionless state and perfect flow state and being really in perfect harmonic alignment, turning on a piano with everything that's going on. And then sometimes there is real turbulence. There are very, very, very strongly experienced impediments and things that try to crap all over the experience or stand between you and divine connection, or just endlessly distract, many different types of things. And I got hit with a lot of that while I was doing the actual FRL dance yesterday. And so, at first in the recording, we're doing our stretching and I'm talking all about these ideals. And then at the end of the recording, I got a little hot under the collar, but I really want you to know, and in this forum here where I teach intellectually as well, there are ideals that I like to impart to you about unconditional love and bliss and these other experiences and these other states. But I want you to recognize that righteous anger is a real thing, that anger can be a part of setting boundaries, both energetic, emotional, personality, or characteristic boundaries of who you are and who you aren't, and what amounts of BS you will put up with and what amounts you will not. It is absolutely essential to be able to be powerful in exerting those boundaries. So as a teacher, I hope that I get a good balance in what I share with you, that I share with you sometimes beautiful, blissful, idealistic teachings that are, my version of like, sitting on a mountaintop and sitting in a lotus position and everything's great. Sometimes it is that way. And sometimes it is white hot, righteous anger of things that are going on that are not the way that they're supposed to be. And that is also part of the expression of divine willpower, that sometimes it is necessary to go into those emotional states also in order to say, this is not what is supposed to be going on. I set a boundary, and these are the things that are not what I'm in alignment with. And that I want to validate for you in your personal journey, those things too. So in some of my teachings, like sometimes I will do a class that's all about the idealism. And then when I did the recording for loving all aspects of self, I was like, we need to really talk about these things. And, there's some things that bring up strong emotions. And I think that that's especially important in terms of contextualizing everything that I teach on this planet, because I wish to be empowering in what I teach to you, not ever for my stuff to be taken out of context, and not ever for my stuff to be used as a weaponized tool to keep you in a state of disempowerment. Like, don't fight back. Aurora says you have to, I'm like, no, actually fight. But the way that I fight and encourage people is not with projectile weapons or anything like that, but with impeccable thought and behavior, being in alignment with these perfect harmonic patterns that we'll talk about today, and doing your dance, which is also has to do with these perfect harmonic patterns. That is, I'm going to say badass now, so cover your children's ears. That is the way to be a cosmic badass. So again, it is not, to be an aggressor or run around or pew pew shooting with lasers or something like that. It is about embodying fully these perfect patterns, and also radiating them, because you're affecting your environment or emanating them outward to those that you interact with and those that you bounce off of. And all of that is in alignment with cosmic law. And you can think about it in whatever terms you want to say it, however you would like to say it, as like being a voice for the divine, or being a voice for that divine God consciousness, that when you're body and somatic cells and your energy field and your words and your actions are all harmonically perfect and are vibrating and making these incredibly perfect patterns, that is really one of the most effective ways to fight or to be empowered in the system, and that it is hugely threatening to those pooties and other consciousness residues that are pretty much the antithesis of that. They are the crazy crap that cannot be classified as music, and they are very threatened by our music, which is music of coherence and longevity and upholdment of the cosmos. And when you, again, cosmic ethics, when you embody these perfect patterns, you are being in your right as to being in existence. You're allowed to be in existence, and you're allowed to make choices about the patterns that you embody and emanate outward. And you know that you're affecting the other musicians in the cosmos too. So wait, this is usually a pretty fun teaching, harmonics. And I've got my piano set up here. Let's do a little sound check. It's still going to be fun. I don't want to make it sound like it's not going to be. Let's do a little sound check, because also sometimes you recognize Zoom does funny things with the microphone in order to emphasize people's voice and diminish background noise. So sometimes here, I've got my piano down here. Sometimes when I play my piano, you don't hear my piano that much. Let me play a little something so that you can hear it and make sure that it's not going to be too loud or too soft for your ears. Louder. What do you say? Someone tell me in the chat. That sounds good to me. Tell me if you can hear this. All right, just someone tell me if you can hear that, because we are going to do fun stuff about music. Good, thank you. And don't want to blow anybody eardrums over. As always, I have my iPad over here with my notes on it. As always, I send out these notes to participants in this class via email, and always now the notes are available in the PDF form if you want to check it out and read from it, because it's also a faster way than these videos. And I will be completing this video by 3:30 because I do have some assignments to be able to get to for the rest of the day. So now getting forward onto the really fun, cool stuff. What is, or what are harmonics, and what am I going to teach about today? Harmonics are nested waves, and they are waves that have perfect proportions in the sense of the math that holds them together. So if I we'll do simple math, guys. Don't run out the window. I promise you. When you hear math, you're like, math. No, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do this. So let's say I have a circle that's 2 inches, right? And if I cut it in half, that's half of 2 is 1. All right. So that would mean that I would have, let's draw it out, a 2-inch circle with 1-inch circles inside of it. Wait, get to the whiteboard. What do I press here? Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Here we go. Draw it out for you and make this all go like this. And also, I don't think that I welcomed everyone here today. Hello, welcome all beautiful students. And I'm very, very happy and pleased to see you. And thank you for being here. That is a rather hinky-jinky circle. We're going to pretend this circle is 2 units across. Okay, so we're talking about this distance across, and half of that is going to be 1, meaning that I've got a 1-inch or 1 centimeter circle inside of there. That's harmonics. That is harmonics, guys. And essentially everything, the big takeaway point of everything that I'm teaching about today is our entire cosmos is built on vibration. Our entire cosmos is built upon and organized upon, a la all of my paintings and drawings here, a very complex series or field of vibrating waves. And they are also standing waves, meaning that they have a regularity, not merely an impulse that moves through a medium, but a standing wave. I jump up at least once per class in order to get my chakra thing here. This is an example of a standing wave. So it has a coherence to it. All of these waves are moving in unison. And then it's not just a wave that is here, transit, goes by, and then is gone. This is an actual waveform that has a presence due to the regularity of the pattern of waves that is going on within it. And same thing with flying rainbow lasagna. These are both examples of standing waveforms, as opposed to waveforms that are just transitory or just, I'm just passing through, ma'am. That is the structure of the cosmos. So I absolutely love this teaching because this is everything about where I am most comfortable. I am most comfortable up here at the crown and above the basic abstract structure of the cosmos, which can be represented as math, which this current culture knows as Arabic or Aramaic numerals, like number 1, number 2, number 3, but which you can also know and comprehend as all of the complex patterns that you see in my paintings behind me. So the paintings that I paint over here and the diagrams that I'm going to share with you are far from random or arbitrary, far from arising just out of my own sense of whimsy. That is actually a giant pattern that is the language of energy as it flows throughout the entire cosmos and throughout time. So it is something that is really divine intelligence, divinely created, and it pervades everything everywhere. Everything everywhere is structured and upheld according to these patterns of harmonics. Let me move my notes a little bit. I'm going to put this down for a moment so that I can play something. Because, okay, mostly to the human biological system, we perceive harmonics as stuff that's happening through our ear holes. I'm going to play some music. That is a chord. Tilt my camera down so you can see things better. I'm playing 3 notes. C, E, G. So to our musical training, we consider that to sound pretty. Those 3 notes sound pretty together. I'm going to play a different chord. Sounds different. Wait, I'll play it down here. That sounds different to your ears, right? Wait, here's an even different chord. I'm going to play 2 chords. Play them, you hear them, that they're different. You're like, Aurora, we know what music is. Let's play it. You're like, Aurora, that sounds like a song. That sounds like music. Yes, it does. Because what is happening is, I have an electric piano. I do not have a grand piano. But if I had a grand piano, what you would see underneath its lid is many, many, many long strings. And each one of those strings, when a hammer hits it, starts to vibrate. And it starts to make these S-shaped sine waves. That's what these waves are called. That is made out of the compression of our atmosphere. Pedro says, time vibrates. Woohoo! Thank you for being in my class and being smart. Yes, time vibrates. Literally, the experience of the presence of time that we are embedded within, what we experience as the flow of time, is the end result and feeds back into this harmonic experience, this harmonic pattern of what is happening. So this harmonic or vibratory pattern governs not only the formation of molecules of matter in physical space, everything as large as the structure of the solar system, which we will get into, to the shape of your body and your face and your metabolism, your tiny little mitochondria, and also vibration and harmonics governs the behavior of tiny subatomic atoms, matter at the level of atoms, and also subatomic particles. All of that stuffy stuff, that is what we know as matter, is moving and interacting through time, which is a medium itself that is made out of vibration. So there is such a thing as the harmonic patterns of time. Time is like a music. Time upholds and supports matter and structures matter, and also gives life to matter, or makes it possible for matter to contain biological life. And at the same time, biological life and our thought patterns and what we are doing with our vibrations and emanations help to uphold time itself. Because like this song, I'm playing the song here, it is an ephemeral aspect of being. If I'm not here playing it, it's in danger of becoming extinct. Time is something similar, where we are adding to time. So it's very, very different than the kind of sense of like time schmime, like it exists, timey schmimey, who cares? It exists, I'm here, I'm dead, I'm gone, time will still be there. This is kind of the sense that humans have of like the sun. The sun will always rise, the sun will always set. Who needs humans? The sun is doing its thing. It's very disconnected from the sense of your own, the sense of import of your own consciousness and your own responsibility for what you are emanating outward. What do you sustain? Because you are embedded within a sea of vibrations that is organized according to harmonics, and you also emit harmonics or organized waves, and you help to uphold the regularity and orderliness of those waves. Let's go through pictures, and let's also talk briefly to the sense of what are chakras. And hold on a second. This is so hard. I don't know why. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing on the Zoom screen. Chakras. Okay, first of all, here's a beautiful picture of some chakras here. Hope you can see my screen properly. And here's another familiar picture of chakras here. And here's another familiar picture of chakras here. And then also, this is not my picture, but is a good example of comprehending music as it relates to the colors of the rainbow, which is light, and all of this relates to harmonics. I'm going over it fast, but I'll return to these images. But back to these chakras. Now I'm going to, here's my riff on all of this. Some people in the New Age community have been perceiving their chakras, and they say, this is an inherently flawed system. That's a cage and a prison. It's holding me back, and that it's not fair, and I don't like it, and I want to amputate or dissolve or somehow get rid of my chakras. And I'm like, wait. I don't think that at all. So let me give my perception of what is happening with chakras and what this is and what they are. I really perceive this, again, from an idealistic viewpoint, from a pristine architecture viewpoint, as a beautiful, perfect system, that there's a beauty and a strength and a positive aspect to the regularity of what these chakras are, that they were not meant to be something that is a tool for your consciousness diminishment or for your consciousness imprisonment or to create disease or death. Those truthfulnesses have been, the possibility for disease and death has been an end result of the hijacking or misappropriation of what chakras are. So again, I know I speak according to like the pamphlet. This is my magical pamphlet. And this is my face of like curiosity and moderate skepticism. Like the pamphlet said that these are supposed to be life-giving wheels of life, and that they nourish and sustain me, and that they're perfect divine architecture, and they are. We're going to talk today about the solar system exopolitics and what happened to destabilize Earth's chakras and what happened to destabilize the inhabitants of Earth's chakras. But basically, in the concept of what harmonics are, there is a predictable regularity in terms of looking at these patterns. When I do these patterns on my paintings, I'm able to figure them out because there's, again, predictable regularity. I know a 12-inch circle is going to have a 6-inch circle inside of it. It's going to have a 4-inch circle inside of it and a 3-inch circle inside of it. And I know exactly how this is going to go, again, according to a pattern and a divine intelligence that is invented and upheld by God. And that it is also conformity to that pattern is not some kind of a punishment. I have to conform to that pattern. This is my, like, whatever, poopy face. My shoulders are down. So poopy because I have to conform to the pattern. No, put your shoulders back. Hooray, I get to conform to this pattern because this pattern is actually divine intelligence and makes it possible to live forever. Aurora, if the chakras are so great and it's part of divine intelligence and it makes us live forever, then how come everybody's been dying? And how come this is a world of mortality? And how come this? And how come that? And just settle down. I hear everything that's happening. And also, I don't know if you can do some background noise. Cheeky's barking in the room next door. Hold on a moment. There is disease in our solar system. So the pattern on my keyboard, and we'll talk about this. If you guys don't know, and we'll go into this, go to the share screen. First, I'll show you on the share screen. Oh, I just don't even know. Please forgive me. I'm pressing buttons and things look different on my screen than they usually do. This is all I'm trying to do. Share the screen right here. Okay, good. So again, not my image, but very similar to an image that I drew to be able to comprehend music. There was a time, guys, like, okay, I came here knowing music, but knowing cosmic music, not knowing earth music. And it really took a long time for my ears in this body to wake up and for me to also comprehend music formalism as it relates to human instruments and human musical notation. So I did not come here with piano skills. I did not come here with the comprehension of, when I say musical formalism, I mean the names of the notes and how they fit together in order to make chords. All of that has been done as an end result of tons of neurological healing and neuroplasticity, and also synesthesia-like rewiring, where I combine together my my comfort zone of really knowing and understanding the world through color, which is a harmonic. The Roy G. Biv spectrum is harmonics, and into math according to color and shape and proportion, and then relating that to the keyboard. And when I tilt my camera down, you can see my keyboard over here. Why I chose to work with the piano as a musician is because it's very linear. At one end of the piano, the notes are low. Let's see if you can even hear this, the lowest note on the piano. That's very low. And at the other end, so it's a big long line, and then do, 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 do. You can't even hear that one. It's too high. Let's play one that you can hear. I think you can hear that one. It's a high note. Very linear, as opposed to something like the saxophone or the guitar, where through different levels of fingering, one is achieving the increase in frequency of the notes. But with the piano, it's very visual and it's very linear. And you can see the notes are getting higher as we go up in one direction. Hold on one moment, everyone. So on the piano keyboard, I found it very easy to comprehend because it's linear. The notes are lower at one end and they get higher when you get to the other end. And also I began in my mind, in order to learn the music of this time and place, with the comprehension that C, this is a C. So I don't know if you can also perceive on my piano over here, pianos are structured so that you have 2 black keys and then 3 black keys. And of course we have 5 fingers on our hands. And so that just fits in there so perfectly. It's all very anthropomorphic. This is C, and then you go 8 notes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is also a C. Wait. This is a C? Yeah. And this is a C. Yeah. And then when you go up, you're going to go up 8 notes. That's a C also, and that's a C also, and that's a C also. Oh, look, Miss Cheeky decided to finally come to class. Hi, I'm very happy that you decided to stop barking and come say hi here. Just say hi. Hi, everybody. Cheeky's here, and now we can finally formally begin now that Cheeky's here. What is an octave? So between this C and this C, you have 8 notes, right? And those also correspond. I know our Roy G. Biv has 7 colors, but let's begin with red. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then we could either think of it as back to red, or we can think of this as white light, because now I'm going to go back up to my face, because I say this all the time. Roy G. Biv is the color recipe that you get from the cake of the sun. The sun emits light. The light is like cake. It contains a recipe, just as cake contains a recipe. And what you have in that color recipe is, by and large, the majority red frequency. A lot of red. There's, when you see this sculpture up here, look at how much red there is. A big fat amount of red. There's lots of red in there. How much orange is in there? Orange is half of red. How much yellow is in there? Yellow is 1/3 of red. So in my paintings, red is almost always 12 inches. What's 1/3 of 12? Don't be intimidated. 12 divided by 3, guys. It's 4 inches. All of my yellow circles are always going to be 4 inches. And then green is always going to be 12 divided by 4, which is always going to be 3 inches. Then we're getting to the tiny stuff. You can barely see. You're squinting on your screen. You're like, I can't even see, Aurora. The light blue color is always going to be 1/5 of the red size. Indigo is always going to be 1/6 of the red size, and violet is always going to be 1/7 the size of the largest red circle. So last semester I did a drawing class that was about how I do all of these complex drawings, and we'll do that again. And I actually had some laser cut circle templates done for this particular for this particular group, and we can do it again, but actually, I mean, like, it was not something that I did for a profit. It was something that I did as a service for others. You can contact me if you want that. Oh, wait, I showed you the wrong thing. I want to go to this. I want to go to this picture over here. What I taught was the drawing of how to draw this right here. So this, I don't have the colors on here, and that's just to try to keep it clean and to try to keep it so that you can see what's going on without being distracted by the colors. But like, are we drawing? Here we go. This one is red, and then this one is orange. Look, we're going all the way up. I'm not going to take too much time out of class to do this, but all the way up through all of the chakras or layers of your being until we get up to the crown, which is going to be violet all the way up here. I'll just highlight that very briefly. That's going to be this one where I'm kind of making that smiley face. Okay. I'm collecting my thoughts. Every single one of these layers of being, known as your chakras, represents a layer or an amount of vastness through time. Let's draw a giant white dot. This giant white dot over here at the top, that's the cake of consciousness that comes from the sun. All of these colors, when you add them all up, add up to white light. This is the case of additive color mixing, or color mixing, color theory, utilizing only pure light. So if I were to take all of the paints that are on my painting table over here, all of my rainbow paints, and mix them together in a giant bucket, I actually would not end up with white light. I would end up with a brownish, blackish, murky, gross kind of soup, because that is subtractive color mixing. When we mix with pigments, slightly different rules of the game in mixing and creating color. But in terms of pure light, and light acts as a wave, you are receiving a wavelength or a waveform that is white light. And when it comes into the crystalline prismatic structure, I'm holding up here that you can see, crystalline prismatic structure that you know as your biocellular body, but also your chakra system and your non-physical body, you split into its constituent elements, all of the layers of light, into these amazing rainbow colors. And I'm going to go to one of these other images. All of these rainbow colors represent a layer of reality. This is a good one to work with. Represents a layer of reality and a speed at which time is flowing. So this speaks to the question about time vibrates. Here is a giant white dot that represents like unity consciousness, because when you add all of the colors of waveform light together, you end up with white light. And just as in 1 point perspective, like all, draw this better, parallel lines meet at infinity. You know, if you do artwork, 1 point perspective. So we've got all of the lines, imagining that they are going back into the distance, all converging on this as the convergence point, right? It represents depth going away from you, all right? And that is truthful about energy as it is moving through time. So out here in the foreground, you've got red. That's all the stuff that has moved the furthest away from the source and unity consciousness in time. It is the most largest and also kind of a little, I don't want to say devolved, but a bit diluted in terms of its message. And then we're going to contrast that with up here. Up here, you've got the violet. The violet frequency is only emerged into reality structure a little bit. Like if I were to use an analogy, the violet structure has only come away from the source and is only dipping its pinky toe into reality, you know, not non-convergence source reality, into the world that we know here, expanded reality, only dipping its pinky toe. The green chakra over here, like, let's say that's like, I'm in up to my waist. That layer of reality has submerged its consciousness self into reality halfway. And then the stuff that is all the way out here In red, which we would consider to be the foreground, the layer of reality that is closest to us, embodied, embedded, experienced observer, is red physicality stuff. You're like, hey, this is my red physicality face. I can touch it. It's moving at a rate that we consider to be physical energy. All right. And then all of these other layers of reality would be considered moving at a faster rate or much, much closer to the source, which is the emanation of time. So I don't know if I'm getting this across to you very well, but in all of my chakra drawings, what I'm trying to show is something that is going away into the distance. You've got your red layer of reality, which is the layer of reality that you're in here, where your ego is focused. You're like, this is the layer of reality that's closest to me. Like, I feel my body and I feel stuff that's around me. But you have all of these different layers of you that all nest together and converge. And when you get them all to converge, kind of like turn them so that you're looking through all of those layers at once and not looking at them laterally on the side, they all add up to the pure divine white light of consciousness. And that is also unity consciousness. So your crown and this area of your connection to divine consciousness has only come away from the source a tiny little bit, is only submerged in this embodiment reality a tiny little bit, and is moving incredibly fast. That's the fastest part of you that we can still define as within the human octave. So octave has the prefix octo that relates to 8, like an octopus has 8 arms, and it relates to the 8 notes that are between a C and a C. So you have your physical reality as the furthest away from the source, but not bad. It's not like you're bad, get away from me. Positively emerging and coalescing here into the world of matter so that it can sustain us and sustain our consciousness and our adventures in the material world. And all of these other layers of reality that are part of the integument of energy, because what happens is energy comes from that primary unity consciousness source, and it circulates and emanates through all of these mathematically defined layers until it comes here into physicality. And then the impulse comes from physicality all the way back up into being more and more and more and more and more focused and returning to unity consciousness. And this relates to the level 1 teaching that I did that is called the Rainbow Bridge. All right, about impulses of consciousness that emerge from the source, coalesce as matter, and then return as consciousness events back to the source. The patterns that dictate all of this are orderly, predictable, and they are known as harmonics. These are patterns that are part of divine consciousness, and they're meant to be beautiful and empowering. But back to my attitude and Aurora, don't you know there's disease and death and something is wrong? That is correct, everyone. Something is wrong. Now let's talk about the solar system. So your chakra system is supposed to be a pristine, beautiful energy field that is a standing wave that supports and sustains your consciousness. You're supposed to be immortal. Aurora, we're not immortal. Bad things are happening. People have cancer all over the place. That is correct. Because what has happened is your ordinarily and ideally pristine chakras have been diminished and distorted in their tuning. They have either gone wibbly wobbly or are not exemplifying the frequency level that they are supposed to be exemplifying perfectly. And this has led to disease. What's going on? Our solar system is diseased. Our solar system is diseased. So the solar system is the sun at the epicenter, and then the orbital rings of the many multiple planets that spread outward in concentric rings or spherical shells around that epicenter of the sun star. And just as in the music of my piano, there are prescribed patterns that sustain life. In our solar system, there are prescribed patterns that sustain life. Cymatics. Aurora, what is cymatics? Cymatics is when you take something that is like a very thin plate and you sprinkle a very fine powder upon it, and then you either vibrate that plate with the speaker underneath it, or you can use a violin bow, something like that, something that makes this vibrate super duper fast. When the plate vibrates super duper fast, it creates interference patterns. Interference patterns are the complex patterns that result as the interactivity of various waveforms come together, sometimes amplifying when two waves come on top of each other like this. So an up plus an up, and they come on top of each other and they amplify. What you get is a big up. Big up, all right? Let's do additive math. An up plus a down. When these two come together in terms of waveforms, what happens? They neutralize. They become a zero. It's not bad. So let's call this a positive one plus a negative one come together. Positive one plus negative one. I'm making you do math. Equals zero. But zero is not bad. Zero is neutrality. So when we look at the formation of matter, everything from big, giant, unimaginably sized galaxies to slightly less giant solar systems that we can at least imagine, to even structures on our planet, to even how your body is shaped, everything about it has to do with the complex interplay of all of these waveforms, some of which might be big and long, like a big long red, some of which might be much smaller and nested within those reds, and that would be considered, can you hear that? A high violet. All of these patterns fit together in a very complex way. Sometimes what you have is the amplification. A lot of stuff can be there. And sometimes you have the neutralization, places where stuff cannot be. This is why we have concentric rings of planets around the epicenter known as our sun, because there are some places where matter can be. There are giant galactic superwaves that basically transit across galaxies. Like my nose is a galaxy. My nose is a galaxy, guys. You didn't even know that, but my nose is a galaxy. And then this is a galactic superwave all the way across a galaxy. Like a galactic superwave is so magnificent that it is almost beyond human comprehension. It moves through the vast amounts of space-time, when you consider space-time as being like a fish tank that has, volume in space. And it organizes the tiny particles of matter that are dust and gases and the potentiality for stars and planets. This is kind of like how are mommy, daddy, how are baby stars born? They are born by the organizational factor of cymatics on a grand scale. Galactic superwaves move through disorganized material, organizing that material. Gonna play music again. As this music moves through your body, I am organizing your material. Yeah, I'm getting you into an orderly fashion, because some places you can coalesce matter because it's a comfortable place according to the interference pattern. And some places you cannot coalesce matter because matter gets vibrated away from those places. When you have your vibrating cymatics plate, some places where it's vibrating, none of the dust or sand can go there because it's vibrating so quickly that the dust and sand cannot go there. But some places the vibration is just right that matter not only can go there, it is very comfortable being there. These are how the planets, these are how, first of all, stars coalesced. And then these are also how stars have coalesced matter in these very regular harmonic patterns that are known as planets. All right. Now we're going to look at our solar system right now. Let's draw it out just super fast. Super fast. I'm excited. I'm smiling because I'm excited. Let's draw the sun over here with like sunshine coming off of it. And then I'm going to do a very rough and ready drawing here, just using the same colors. Here is planet Mercury. It's tiny and it's pretty close to the sun. And then here is Venus. It's still pretty tiny. It's still pretty close to the sun. And then here is Earth. It's still pretty tiny. It's still pretty close to the sun. What I'm trying to show is the increments are going to get a little bit bigger. And then here's Mars. It's getting a little bit, this increment is what I'm trying to say between planets. It's getting a little bit bigger. And then here is a bunch of crapola that we know as the asteroid belt. And then here is Jupiter. And then here is Saturn, all right? And then here are the outer planets. I'm even just going to draw like, some outer planets out here. None of this is drawn to scale, because what I'm really talking about is here's a tiny increment, a slightly larger increment, a slightly larger increment, a bigger one. These increments of how far apart these planets are in terms of their orbital rings around our star has everything to do with harmonics. Just like 12 divided by 2 is 6, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 12 divided by 5 is 2.7, and 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 12 divided by 7 is 1.8. Yes, and those exact same harmonics dictate the spacing of these much, much larger heavenly or astronomical bodies. But I want us to draw our attention to this pile of crapola that we know as the asteroid belt. That is someplace where even the present level of observational science in your world admits, let's draw it in a, I don't know, it's a better color. I want to draw kind of like a ghostly color. There's supposed to be a planet there. That's like a ghost of a planet. There's supposed to be a planet there, but there's not a planet there. There's instead a large pile of rubble that is in between Mars and Jupiter that is known as the asteroid belt. And something bad happened there. So our sun creates planets as biological, artistic experiments and self-expressions that are, living art projects again, and that they are children. Each of the planets are children of the stars that have emanated them. And the life and the consciousness that dwells on or is interactive on those planets is part of the sun's own wisdom and growth and accretion of more light. These planets are supposed to be complementary to one another, not horribly, violently at odds with each other, in the same way that like my elbow and my liver are both supposed to work together as part of the cohesive body known as aurora in what is known as a state of health, coherence, and longevity. Clearly, there's a problem. There's a problem in some area of the health, vitality, coherence, and longevity of our solar system. There was a planet that was there, an alive being that supported and sustained life. Life might not have been defined as human biological scientists currently define life, but life and consciousness nonetheless. And I have to put that out there as like a little asterisk in everything that I say, because not all life looks like an embodied human. Like that's kind of like the original Star Trek. Remember, like the old science fiction TV series where all of the aliens looked either like a human or a human like with a lot of blue face paint on, or a human with like some little antennas stuck on their head, but still very humanoid is what I'm trying to say. None of the visitors to the Starship Enterprise looked like a cloud of gas or, whatever, molecular crystalline structure. Like they all had two eyes and a nose and a mouth and kind of generally looked humanoid. Science has a limitation and a bias and an anthropocentrism in terms of defining life and perceiving life. We have life on our planet that does not look very much at all like our physical faces and yet is alive. Just going to read this one. Adam says, thanks for the love of the Trek reference. Thank you for being here, Adam, because I know it might be difficult with your work schedule. So it's always good to see you tune in live. Yes. Like we have mushrooms, but that doesn't look like a face, but it's still alive and conscious. We have gaseous bodies that are alive and conscious, but they don't contain faces. So there's a heavy bias. So the life that has existed on our various planets of this solar system might not fit according to the rules of human observational science, but does count in terms of the definition, the cosmic definition of what is life and what is consciousness. And there was life on that planet between Mars and Jupiter. Sometimes that planet is known as Tiamat, Tiamat. Sometimes it is known as Marduk, Marduk. Sometimes it is known as Malduk with an L in there. These are all mythical, cultural, historical references that are heavily not only acculturated and come through many, many layers of distortion, but also are semi-distorted, not that accurate in terms of the kind of story of what happened. Like you see a smoking gun. When you see the asteroid belt, you see a corpse and a smoking gun. And then there are many different interpolations of the events that happened in terms of the creation, the interpretation of that trauma. There is a trauma. You see the asteroid belt, you are witnessing the end result of a trauma that happened. And that trauma caused the death of a planet. Planets are alive. Aurora, how can I tell if a planet is alive? A planet is alive, that you basically use the same characteristics, assessments for your own body. You are alive if you have a chakra system or a standing field, a standing wave field of these time waves around your body. The asteroid belt does not have a chakra system. And also, this is why the cautionary tale, like, why not just get rid of your chakras? I don't like my chakras. They contain something that is bad or negative, or I think they're dragging me down. Get rid of those chakras. The answer is, I don't want you to get rid of your chakras, because then that means you're not alive. You get it? Like if you look at a dead corpse that's on the autopsy table in somebody's, I want to say, whatever, laboratorium, in somebody's like, whatever, the place where you go after you die, crematorium. They do not have chakras. They do not have a magnetic energy field around them. They simply are a non-inhabited somatic cellular body form. There are actually several corpses that are in our sky, in our solar system. The asteroid belt is just one example of a corpse that does not have a functional magnetosphere or chakra or magnetic field around it. Venus doesn't have one, and Mercury doesn't have one, and Mars does not have one either. Earth has one, Jupiter has one, and it's enormous. And some of the other exoplanets have it also. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, thank you for the blessings and apologies. Apparently now I also sneeze at least once per class too. Just trying to be consistent. What happened? What in the world? What in the blessed world happened in our solar system? A lot of bad stuff. So your present ongoing planetary invasion is contextualized within, and the ancient human genetic invasion is contextualized within a very ancient ongoing solar system invasion or destabilization. When your chakras are completely in harmonic alignment, the music of you is strong and you're staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. When the music is not good, I will now mash my keyboard. That does not sound like music. Do you know why? None of those sound waves fit together properly. They sound terrible together. Our ears are literally calibrated to hear how disharmonic and poorly structured those circles are. When you don't have circles that fit together, something dies. And our solar system was created as a beautiful expression of life and divine consciousness, and something came along and messed it up so that many of the planets no longer have functional chakra systems that keep them alive and protect life on their planet. And one of the planets even went kablooey. Earth has a beautiful magnetosphere. I show you and bring your attention to this painting all the time. This painting shows Earth's toroidal, donut-shaped energy, centers and sphere around it, turning into a higher dimensional torus shape or a flying rainbow lasagna. And this is the rectification of the very, very long, disheartening, distressing backstory of something bad happened in our solar system. Your solar system is like a family. Something happened, like that Aunt Mercury got killed somehow, and then Aunt Venus got killed somehow, and then Uncle Mars got killed somehow. And guess what? When Uncle Mars got killed, all of the consciousness that lived on Mars didn't have a place to go. And it's like, hi, I'm moving in with you, and got into Earth's planetary system and Earth's genetic code. And this is why you have disease and death on Earth. So I joke and relate to everyone who's got the attitude, but it's not a perfect world with perfect music. That is correct. It is not a perfect world with perfect music, because there was an ancient genetic invasion that, in blame the victim, questionable language, is known as the fall. But I joke, he didn't fall, he was pushed. The fall from grace, the fall of consciousness, the fall from Eden, but really was a consciousness diminishment that happened as the end result of genetic invaders. So I speak about this extensively in lesson 18, but what you really need to comprehend is that in a pristine system, your chakras are functioning perfectly in terms of receiving energy from the source. So here's the source. Or maybe this is better for a note for the source. Here's the source. And that energy is going to get stepped down so that it is more palatable and isn't going to totally cause an instant state change in you, make you vaporize, change state from solid through liquid and gas and directly to plasma. Because if you had come into you right now, you would be like, I'm a plasma. Great. But you're not supposed to be a plasma. You're supposed to be a solid. So what happens is that energy is, that's violet, indigo, light blue, green, yellow, orange, and then into red. That energy is incrementally not diminished, but slowed down and kind of poofed outward. I don't have a better word for it, so that it is not going to instantly burn you or state change you. But this note is absolutely as beautiful and worthy of respect as the highest note that comes directly from the source. They both, in a pristine system, contain all of this perfect information. And so again, your chakras are not meant to be an imprisonment system. Life is supposed to be a beautiful gift and an opportunity, and being in physicality is supposed to be a wonderful adventure where you are able to experience all of the forces and vectors of both matter and energy coming together in an amazing, phenomenal interplay that you get to learn and experience from being a part of. And you are also creator, and you're within your own creation. It's supposed to be an amazing opportunity. The brochure says so, all right? But since the invasion of this solar system, a lot has been destabilized. And that means that the events have cascaded, dominoes have fallen, and brought you to this present moment now where the bodies on planet Earth that consciousness inhabits are vulnerable, are mortal, experience disease and experience death. And the disease and death are absolutely an end result of the wibble wobbling of chakras. And the wibble wobbling of chakras is a siphoning off of energy. So if you can imagine, these are these beautiful, and always watch the recorded lessons on Teachable, guys, because there's so much detail in there. And I was just going over my notes for the morning before I come to class here, and I do my exercises while I'm listening to my own stuff. And I go back into what I recorded 10 years ago, and it's totally worth it to check it out. I do extensive drawings about how energy actually circulates through this chakra waveform. That it does have circular motions, like where I'm presently circulating my pen, but it also has these perfect figure 8 motions. And those figure 8 motions mimic, here's the sine wave, here's an up, and then here's a down, and then the complementary up and the complementary down. And that this central convergence point, which is also the source, would be analogous to the place in cymatics that is a neutral point where matter does not collect. You got it? So you end up having this beautiful flow pattern that, when it is in balance, is an endless perpetual motion machine. But let's say that I do something to destabilize one of these bicycle wheels or one of these chakra wheels. If I'm able to take some energy off of one of these places or add energy to it, the whole entire thing goes a little bit wibble wobbly, and then causes the release of additional energy through these shaking motions and also through friction. So the analogy of your car is very perfect, because your car has 4 wheels, back wheels and front wheels. And let's say you hit a rock with your front wheel, and all of a sudden your front tire is turned to the side a little bit. Then when you drive, instead of all 4 wheels being in perfect parallel form and having no friction and getting great gas mileage, one of your wheels being turned a little bit means that all of your wheels start, the faster you go, everything starts to shake apart, and your whole entire car starts to shake. And if you got up to really fast speeds, guess what? Maybe your tires might fly off of your axles, or your whole entire thing, the bolts and the weldings might come apart. That is what happened to the planet that was known as Tiamat. the entire thing got vibratorily shaken out of existence and turned into a pile of rubble. So if you follow the work of the great inventor known as Nikolai Tesla, or is it Nicholas Tesla, from the early 1900s, he did a lot of work exploring not only electricity, but also vibration, harmonics, and frequency. And one of his experiments involved something that created like a vibratory motion. He was based in Manhattan. Manhattan has all of these tall buildings on basalt, which is like the lower layers of rock in the Earth's crust. He vibrated the Earth's crust so much that he could have made the buildings of New York fall down. If he had continued with that experiment, he stopped. He had like, discretion is the better part of valor. Maybe I shouldn't vibrate these buildings out of existence, but he could have. Same thing with the example that I use every year in class, a bridge that went across the Tacoma Narrows Gorge in Pacific Northwest of the United States, known as Galloping Gertie. Suspension bridge, meaning here's where the cars go, and then here's the wires that hold the bridge up from the water. And what engineers of that time knew about was engineering. They're like, we know how to build stuff and make it stand up. What they didn't know about was harmonics. And what happens with harmonics is that you have these cycles where at first it's like this, and it's this strong. But then as it comes and it feeds back into itself, it's like this, and it's even stronger. And then the next time it's like this up to the ceiling. And then the next time it's like this out the roof. And then the next time it's like this up to the moon. That is amplification in harmonics. Remember, an up plus an up equals a big up. So the energy of the wind flying through the narrow gorge created these harmonics that at first it was just this much. Then it was this much. Then it was this much, then it was so much that the entire thing was kaput, all right? They didn't know about harmonics. This is very, very similar to the experiments that Tesla did, and very, very similar to what happened in the events of the planet that is known as Tiamat. But I don't want you to think about that as like an errant, hapless thing, or like, they didn't know, wait, let me hold this up in great facetiousness. They didn't know what they were doing, and it just happened to happen. And, you know, like, no, actually, there was a huge battle, huge power struggle. That was a part of the power struggles of this whole entire solar system that played out in the rather explosive death by vibration of that entire planet. And Aurora, how does this relate to me now? Me. Bring it all down to me. I will. The consciousness that resided on that planet did not have a place to be anymore, and it went to Mars. And it was not an original inhabitant of Mars, but it's like, I'm going to go to Mars and I'm going to do stuff on Mars. And it did stuff on Mars with technology that I go into greater detail about, but all the salient facts are that technology was used and deployed. Technology was used in order to sustain life and augment life and consciousness, and that the lessons that were created on Tiamat were not internalized and learned, and that they pretty much just recreated in a new cycle the same distressors, the same power struggles that they had before, and that they destroyed Mars, but just in a slightly less grandiose manner. So Mars used to be able to support physical, biological, cellular life a la Earth. There was atmosphere there, there was water there, and there also was a magnetosphere there. Mars does not have a magnetosphere now since their time experiment gone horribly awry. Again, hat tip to Pedro's question, time vibrates, time vibrates. So all the thing that blew apart a planet, that's now the asteroid rubble, disturbed time. And the stuff that made Mars go kablooey, it's still a physical planet in space, but it has no magnetosphere. It lost its gravity for a brief amount of time. The atmosphere went bye-bye. All the surface water went bye-bye. The capacity to sustain biological life went bye-bye. And then all of the consciousness that was there was like, oops, now I got to go someplace. And I'm also being very facetious and mischaracterizing all of this because, again, there's some question about whether it was by accident, in air quotes by accident, or whether it was very much on purpose. I often call it a crap time machine or artificial Merkaba. Merkaba, star tetrahedron. I don't have my Merkabas around me here. I mean, I have one around me in my energy Merkaba is here, but I have like little models. Wait, jumping up twice per class. I do have my Merkaba here. Can you see it? There we go. It is a star tetrahedron shape. So they created an artificial star tetrahedron Merkaba and also utilized, exploited, and harmed time as a living presence, the time field and energy, and destabilized it to the point that they could not sustain life there. This is the music of life, and it makes you keep on being alive. This is the music of life, and it's beautiful, and when you play it, you get to be alive. When you play music like this, you don't get to be alive anymore. And these are some basic firewalls of existence. And they're there as per an incredible genius known as God that wants to make sure that everything that's alive is like a musician in the band that is doing the right thing, not only for the solar system, but for everything, everywhere. Be a part of the symphony of life. Play your part and make it sound good. Yeah, but they're like, we don't want to play our part and make it sound good. We want to crash, not only crash our piano, we want to pick up our piano, we want to smash it on someone else's face. That is what some of these consciousnesses did. I want to characterize them as like self-destructive, destructive towards others, destabilizing of the time field, disrespectful of the time field, not out of gratitude of life, and also causing enormous repercussions and reverberations of harm and disease that have brought down to you the disease that is the destabilization of your chakras. Your chakra systems are supposed to be wheel of life, something that carries you through time and keeps you alive. When these consciousness invaders came to Earth, what they did was invade your chakra systems. They're the putis on the membrane of death, and they make your chakras wibble wobble. And when your chakras wibble wobble, or when you aim for and go towards the membrane of death, you experience disease in your body. All the chakras of your body are supposed to be beautiful musicians in a band. Here's my red chakra playing. Here's my yellow chakra playing. Here's my blue chakra playing. All right. And here's what they sound like when all these musicians play together. They sound great and they sound like the symphony of life. They sound great and they sound like the symphony of life. And if we play the symphony of life with our chakras, we stay alive forever, and life becomes a beautiful, phenomenal adventure that does not end in death. And that's ascension. And this is everything in the pamphlet that I want you to know about, and I want you to continue to imagine and embody, because that is what we dance for when we do the rectification that is known as flying rainbow lasagna. But when the musicians of the chakras do not play the right notes, and so I don't have a guitar, but if I had a guitar, and what I would do in order to demonstrate this to you is take the little twigs at the top, I'm going to turn those knobs, and I'm going to make this note no longer sound like this note. I'm going to make it sound like this note. It's going to make it sound out of tune. Out of tune chakras that are not moving at the right rate or don't have the right size circles in relevance to the rest of the circles of the cosmos that you are supposed to fit within. Harmonics is circles within circles that fit together perfectly. Like here's two circles that touch tangentially, they fit together perfectly. Here's two circles that overlap perfectly. You know what you don't have in harmonics? You do not have something that is like a circle with a little, here's a little bit, it doesn't match perfectly, it's under, here's a circle that's over. You would never have one that's kind of like, it's like 1.2, but wait, Aurora, didn't you say that violet was 1.7? Yes, but that means that I can fit 7 circles that are 1.7 inches inside of one red circle. But what I cannot fit is 7 circles that are, let's say, 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches. They don't fit within there. So harmonics means circles that have the proper size or the proper tuning that fit effectively within each other without any extra hanging over the side. The visual mechanics of it and the forms that they make are divine and perfect. And this has to do with a much, much larger language and syntax that scales all the way up to gravitational waves and scales all the way down to the waveform of photons in certain formats. Your chakras, I wanted to say your harmonic body, your chakras are your light body. So all of these waveform mechanics that have to do with auditory waves also relate to light waves, also relate to color waves, also relate to time waves. Your body is made out of sound, it's made out of light, it's made out of time. And time is the events. And what you're trying to do in terms of embodying divine perfection is embody the series of events. That is you being in the symphony of life, going, doing, and being all of the right things at the right time in order to staying alive, all right? So it's very difficult for you to be able to do all of that when you have a bunch of consciousness invaders, hijackers, the peanut gallery and the pooties on the membrane of death that are either shouting crap at you while you're trying to be alive and do your stuff in life. Either they're like totally unwanted, negative voices and critics, or actively grabbing the steering wheel and be like, oh, nice steering wheel you got there, kid. Would be a real shame if I grabbed it and drove you over a cliff. And they try to do that too. So sometimes it is them distracting you. Sometimes they actively try to grab the willpower of your life and wildly swing you off the road and towards death. And it remains iron. You have to have an iron willpower to be like, no, I drive my car. Shut up. Get away from me. I'm doing this, making life a difficult slog when it is supposed to be a beautiful brochure-based exploration of yourself and self-expression and self-exploration, which of course it hasn't been for a very long amount of time. Wait, let me grab my notes. Hold on. I have half an hour left to be able to make sure that I get through everything important. I'm grabbing my notes. I'm checking out all of your comments as well. Okay. I got everything about cymatics and particles vibrating into complex patterns based upon waveforms. Chakras and colors are visual harmonics. Nodes of interaction are mathematically dictated by a larger overarching pattern. All right, the nodes of interaction, including the nodes of interaction in your chakras. And also, if I go briefly to this picture over here, although it is not color coded, it does show the interactivity very well. This is what I did when I did the drawing lesson from last year. I showed how I built this particular drawing and how there's an interplay between these various different colors. So wait, right now I'm going to grab orange to be able to show you. This is, one of the membranes that is known as orange. And then let's just grab a neutral color here. What's this? That's a place where this other wheel rests upon the membrane that is known as orange. Oops, wait, rewind. And that other wheel is yellow. Grab the right color. So this spot right here where it rests upon orange is actually emanating from yellow. And then let's grab another, let's see where we can do it. So there is a harmonic relationship between your orange emotional centers and your yellow intellectual centers. Let's get another really fun and exciting interrelationship here. So first of all, this is your violet chakra right here. Highlighting it for you. And that represents your highest, fastest color form. And it's made out of, and your crown, and it's made out of this big giant circle that is here. And what I want you to look at is this part of the circle. Oops, I drew a terrible arrow. Wait, can you tell I'm squinting? Okay, this spot right here is what you want to look at, and how, oh wait, I drew everything wrong, guys. Try it better. This right here nests, that's your violet bubble of energy, nests within the cleft or the bosom of this much, much larger, I didn't even draw that properly either. Boy, oh boy, I really got to get this right here. Thank you for your patience. Orange. So orange makes a big giant circle that comes out like this. These look like beautiful bosoms. And then within that orange cleft is nestled this violet structure. And so I'm going to do a whole teaching about this, about how you do this drawing and what it really means. When you have an interaction like that, what it means is that those two levels of your being have a strong relationship. Violet, which is your crown, which is your divine connection, is nested within the cleft of orange, which is emotional mammalian reality. Those two things interact with each other and have a very strong effect on one another. And let's see if I can find one more really good one. Let's get to the dark blue. So that's, I think, this one over here. Dark blue circle is nesting within. This one's going to make you all very happy. That membrane that is representative of, did it wrong. That should be yellow instead of green. Okay, it will make you happy when I do it right. Hooray, yellow. I didn't draw that one right either. Thank you for being forgiving of me while I get these things right. Okay, that big indigo circle that is affiliated with your sixth chakra or your brow or your Christ chakra rests upon, like interlocking water wheels or interlocking gears, the chakra that is made out of yellow, which is your daily waking intellect. These two things have a strong interrelationship. Your insight and your daily waking intellect have an interrelationship. What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, these things balance upon each other. Grab another one. Hold on a second. Now I'm jumping up again. Here's a bigger chakra. Here's a smaller chakra. These guys nest on top of each other. If I make this one go like this one's going to go like this too. These are in partnership. And really, the figure eight motions that move in the figure eight motions of your energy field as energy is flowing from that white light source all the way through and then all the way back again, goes through every layer of your being. So the idea is that the energy that comes through your indigo Christ chakra is interacting with the energy that is flowing through your yellow chakra of your daily waking intellect. I've already told you there's a hacked human operating system at the level of your daily waking intellect that is part of the invasion that happened, genetic degradation, the fall that wasn't a fall but was a push, and that destabilization there absolutely relates to the destabilization of your inner insight, your Christ chakra, and diminishes that. The healing of your body must be holistic and total. So again, some people have advocated for a removal of chakras, a dissolving of chakras, or a diminishment of the boundaries of these membranes that I do not advocate for, but they're kind of like, I don't like this body part, it's diseased, let's amputate or surgically remove it in terms of energy. And I'm like, there's a body part that is non-functional. It has a huge importance in your life and in integrating with the structure of time on a larger level. Please don't get rid of it. Please heal and fix it. And you're like, Aurora, I don't want to heal and fix it because that means I have to heal and fix everything that's going on in my body, all the way from red, all the way up to violet, and my entire planet, and my entire solar system, and the entire galaxy. And that's too big to fix. And I'm going to say it's not too big to fix, but everything else I agree with. Yes, this is why I say that your personal healing is incredibly profound and radiates outward to the healing of so much else. When you align your chakras correctly, when you have them all buzzing in perfect perfection, and this chakra is relating perfectly to this chakra, and your intellect and your emotions are relating to each other perfectly, and your root chakra and your physicality is relating to all of these chakra layers perfectly, then what you have is the music of life. Wait, and I keep on having to pick up my computer here in order to play the music of life. Have the music of life, cause all my chakras sound good together. All my chakras sound good together. That is what we are trying to do in terms of the planetary rectification. So I again advocate not for a removal of your chakras, but kicking out the invaders that are not supposed to be in your chakras. They got into your chakras because they did bad things on their planet. And I'm saying bad things in a facetious way. Like they were naughty, they were bad. They effed up their planet a lot. If I effed up my body a lot, would it be okay for me to be like, oh, well, I destroyed my body with, drugs or jumping out of windows or something like that. Can I jump into your body? And you have to be like, no, Aurora, like take some responsibility. You destroyed your body through drugs or, jumping off a bridge or something, but no, you're not allowed to come into my body. Take responsibility and, enjoy the repercussions of your actions. That would be the right thing to do, not like having me jump inside of you and your genetic code and then also be like, now let me drive your car wildly off a cliff and then you can die like me. No, but that is what these consciousness invaders have done to humanity for so long that has become normative in your world. They did a lot of self-destructive is the best word I can use, because sometimes I'm a little lighthearted and facetious in my class. I say they were bad, they were naughty. What they were was self-destructive. And if they are in terms of loving all aspects of self and unity law, you say, you're allowed to be self-destructive. Good luck on your journey, but you're not allowed to involve me as I am in levels of coherence, longevity, and self-construction and maintenance of the entire symphony of life. So the symphony of life is something that is delicate or vulnerable. If you don't play the right music, then not only does it sound like crap, but everything dies. All right. You want to play the right music in your body so that you stay alive. You want to play the right music in events in time so that time stays alive. These self-destructive levels of consciousness were also rather irresponsible. They didn't just say, I'm self-destructive, blah, 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 and then go into a state of non-being. They were like, I'm self-destructive, blah, blah. Can I have another one? Like, can I scribble all over my canvas, blah, and throw it out the window. Can I have another canvas? No. How about yours? Can I paint on your canvas? No, you can't paint on my canvas. This is me. I'm like, no, covering up my canvas. Don't paint on my canvas because you're not a good artist and because you're not allowed to do that. That is though what they have tried to do. So non-coherent, non-longevity based personality characteristics, the desire to self-destruct and then taking no responsibility for those levels of self-destruction and then wanting to get either a free pass or somehow get what you need from someone else consensually or non-consensually. I'm making a face that's kind of like, hey kid, I don't care. Real nice life you got there. I think I'm gonna take it over. And that is what they did. Non-consensually entered into our planet, into the human genetic code, and created mortality in our world. So death first came to the solar system and first came on a planetary level. Then death and mortality came to our planet here. And it is what we are dealing with right now. The flying rainbow lasagna rectification is a way of dancing with your chakras into a higher dimensional reality so that you may rearrange both your genetic structure and your time body and events in time in order to bring your personal body and trajectory, conscious trajectory, back into divine alignment for the entire planet to dance back into divine alignment and to actually do something with these self-destructive, non-self-responsible consciousness residues that have been attempting to avoid their own final denouements by kind of just clinging to the edges. That's why I jokingly call them the turds who refuse to flush. They're not really alive, but they're not really dead. We could do Monty Python and say, I'm only mostly dead. But they haven't gone anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere. They've been hanging around for a really long time. And those are the ones that with all of your attitude, get all your attitude going. Those are the ones that you should direct your ire towards and your dissatisfaction. Those are the ones that are not actually supposed to be here. So let me make sure that I got through all of my important stuff. So harmonics is the structuring of time. Harmonics is also the structuring of matter. When I talk about the diminishment of signal from the white light of consciousness into physicality structure and larger time waves, what I'm trying to say is that it is a stretching out of time, like a Doppler effect, not necessarily a distortion or a diminishment of consciousness, but a stretching or a filling. That was what I was trying to get through to you. I already got galactic history. I got about what happened on Mars, and I got to that as being a domino in the entire consciousness hierarchy of self-destruction and trauma that has happened in our solar system, because essentially you're part of a traumatized family, and we need deep healing on many, many, many levels. All right. And right now, Earth is an opportunity to resolve and rectify all of the ancestral and planetary traumas of the past. Earth right now is a corrective experience. We are righting the flow of energy throughout the solar system, rebalancing the flow of energy over an almost uncountable number of years. It's an enormous task. It is big, but it is inevitable. That is what I want, instead of the quick fix of saying, I don't like my yellow chakra, get rid of it. I don't like my this chakra, get rid of it. To be able to say, this chakra system comes with a presumption, according to the brochure, of divine perfection, and that it really has a huge amount of merit. And although it has been destabilized or diseased, what I want to do is heal and fix the chakra system of my body, of the planet, of the entire solar system structure, and of the entire galactic structure, because we haven't even talked about the arm of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Orion Arm, and the wars that have happened there on a much, much larger level, and all of the implied exopolitics or exotic, non-terrestrial politics, non-Earth-based politics that really do percolate down to you. Now, and I know I'm going a little bit fast because I only have 10 more minutes, but let me go through. Thank you for your question, Pedro, about time vibrating, because that gave a lot of good structure to my class. Melissa, and thank you for being here, says predictable chakra patterns equals easier to hack. That is why the FRL was needed, to add more options and less predictability. Yes, very much so. So part of Flying Rainbow Lasagna is the strength of unpredictability, or being able to improvise in the moment. Wait, let me put down, I keep on having to put my computer down. Put my computer down, put my sculpture down. And let's play an improv. What is an improv? I don't know if this is too loud for you. Making stuff up. I didn't know that I would play that here today. That is not something that I practiced. That is something that I just spontaneously made up in the moment. Unpredictability is part of the strength of the system. High levels of individuality is also part of the strength of the system. Literally every one of the trillion cells of your body is playing its own music and chord structure unpredictably, is part of the beauty and phenomenal quality of being alive. I really don't know if you guys get this. Like, in the place where consciousness is not alive as we are alive, everything is already kind of done. You're like, okay, we already wrote all the symphony. Everything is kind of already completed, like Jello that has already set. We are still in that mushy level where the Jello has not set yet, where many different things can happen. It is an incredibly exciting, incredibly present, potential time that you can make stuff happen. You can make stuff happen. The painting is not yet varnished. That is part of the great strength of the system. And yes, if the planet was invaded, it shows that there was a vulnerability. Like, there was a vulnerability. Somehow this system got hacked. Although, if I really get, I want to say, persnickety about it, this is just a brief aside because I only have a few minutes, but I'll talk about it more at another time. I have followed with my tendril of attention in the human genetic code all the way. I actually might have just gotten a reprieve. You heard my ding come in. So I don't think that I have my same assignments for the rest of the day. So that means that I don't have to go so fast, and we can have more of a comfortable breathing pace. I have followed with my tendril of attention the genetic code, which is kind of like a blockchain, what people are calling that now, complex amount of information storage container that contains or exemplifies all of the transactions that have happened since the beginning of the system. Blockchain contains a story of Bitcoin. This guy bought socks, and then this guy sold those socks over here and got this money and bought whatever, CDs and hard drives. And then he sold that, and then he bought this over here. Like it is a record. It is a record of the circulation of energy. Your DNA is similarly an indelible record of every transaction that has happened on the level of consciousness and biology, biological architecture, all the way to a rabbit that you got your capacity to carry live birth from, ages ago in terms of biological architecture, to be able to be not just like an amphibian that is fertilizing someone's eggs that are left in the river, but actually like a mammal that can have a baby in your womb. Like there was a time when that capacity for live birth was woven into your present DNA code, and that is evidenced in your blockchain, all right, or in the transaction record of everything that's happened in your DNA. And when I have followed the human DNA all the way back using my inner eye, like, okay, we're getting all the way back, and kind of like with, time machine on your Safari, be like, where did the computer get corrupted? Let's go back to the moment the computer got corrupted to try to recover this hard drive. When I go back to that moment of the supposed planetary invasion from Mars, the consciousness that was on Mars, that was technology-based, to Earth, I actually do not see a causality structure. And what that means is that these kind of two time tunnels, they kind of don't match. They don't meet. Like here's one timeline coming along and doing stuff, and then here's one timeline, and there's actually no causality. There's actually no meeting there. And I still, like, there's a reason why I don't have a formal teaching all about this. I don't have a reasonable explanation for the very valid experience of disease and death on this planet, when it appears as if that invasion could not have happened. And when I think back on Atlantis and everything that I knew about that time and that I was present for there, we had a giant Merkaba around our whole planet and taught Merkabas to our tiniest newcomers, children. Everybody was quite well versed in how to create these protective energy shields and fields. How could something broach that shield? How could something come to our planet and non-consensually enter into our DNA? I still have a lot of questions about that. And that is actually part of the genesis or impetus for me being here, as it were. So I will just say, if you're looking at all of this like as a movie and you're like, wait a minute, there's a giant plot hole there. Something doesn't make sense, because how could they even have invaded this planet? How could they even have got here? I'm kind of with you on that. But yet when we look around, we certainly see examples of disease and mortality that we must accept as a truthfulness in life, but that the causality structure is not convincing. So we must really wonder what is going on. So there's continued investigation that needs to happen about what exactly happened to bring that consciousness here. And that is part of the healing and rectification. But in the end, the flying rainbow lasagna, I feel, does not require an explanation like that. It is simply something that I can do and teach others to do it as a response, without having to say, here's all the backstory, and all the backstory makes sense, and now here's the positive solution or response to it. And that's kind of freeing, because otherwise what you have to do, like if you were a doctor, you would have to be like, okay, like the patient is on my table over here, and the patient has like, broken arms and legs. I'm going to have to first learn everything about the car accident that caused the broken arms and legs, and everything about how much were the tires inflated on those cars? What song was playing on the radio of those cars? Did they change the oil recently? It's much more freeing as a doctor to simply say, the patient has broken arms and legs. Let's fix the broken arms and legs, and we can be less invested in the investigation of the actual forensics of the car crash that made the disease or accident happen. I feel the same way with humanity. Clearly, there is some kind of a car crash that has happened. Clearly, the patient has broken arms and legs. Flying rainbow lasagna as rectification for what is presently going on, even while there is some mystifying question about what actually caused the car accident to create death and disease in this time place. But it might just be a very like a clear consciousness resolution. Be like, I as the doctor, I'm like, well, if you're the patient with the broken arms and legs, I'm like, I know you're in pain, but I've looked into the accident. Technically, the accident didn't even happen. So technically, you can't even have broken arms and legs. And here's the guy on this table, like, but something is happening. Like, I clearly am in pain. But wouldn't it be great if he jumped up and was like, I don't have broken arms and legs at all. I'm feeling great. Yeah, so we'll see on that. And again, I'm lighthearted, but I don't have all of the answers to that, but I will tell you, and Melissa, you're a great thinker, and we can talk about this more also in a chat room if you want to. How could any of this stuff have happened? Because I talk about this with a bunch of different people who are in the class, outside of class. There is still a mystification, and sometimes there's just the acceptance of okay, like it doesn't make sense, the causality structure doesn't hang together, and yet we are experiencing this, so let me respond effectively to what we are experiencing, even though things don't necessarily make sense. Trish has a question and says, is the white light that is, or I should go like this, up here, is that white light the same as golden unified light? I would say yes. So I'm putting golden in quotes because the white light is supposed to be a completely neutral, like not colorful light that is just the cake of pure unity consciousness. So we sometimes in our meditations envision it as a healing, positive, nourishing, gentle, golden light, which I think is a fair anthropomorphic approximation of the feeling state that you want that light to give to you, as opposed to like a cold, extremely harsh white light that you can tell it's making me squint and feels very uncomfortable. Because like when our sun is healthy, our sun emits this beautiful kind of golden light that I don't know if you guys even can remember this, because I mean the people in my audience right now might be younger than 21 years old, but in the past 20 years the quality of our light has radically changed that we are receiving from the sun, and also artificial light sources have come into our sky, so that when you go out during the middle of the day, it doesn't always feel warm, nourishing, and positive to be outside. There are times when I've been outside when it felt very like an assault, like it felt like, like my skin doesn't want the light to be on it. It felt too harsh or too bright, or sometimes people report this also, the sun in the sky looking like an LED, being very bright, white, and harsh, and even hurting their eyes. But if you can remember 20 years ago or more, the light that came from the sky was a golden yellowish hue that was very nourishing and positive. So if you went outside, even in the middle of summer with your bare skin, that the light, it felt gentle. It felt gentle and good and nourishing on all of these parts of your body, and did not feel like it was something that was an assault in any way. So the affiliation that we have as earth dwellers with golden light being a positive, nourishing, gentle light is fair. But in terms of pure abstraction, when you are talking about color theory, all of these colors add up to a white that is a neutral color that does not have a hue associated with it. And that is what we calibrate to as unity consciousness. Unity consciousness is the quality of the overarching God consciousness of the world that we live in, and has different characteristics. So just like cake of, I'm going to point up here at this thing, cake of the world, like we've got this much red and this much orange and this much this, down to a pinch of violet. God's presence has characteristics that might be like this much love and compassion. Like the overarching amount in this recipe is like love, compassion, goodness. And then there's going to be like this much of this characteristic, and then this much of this characteristic, and then like a tiny little dash of righteous anger. Like it's not going to be like 89% of what God is wrathful anger, but there's like a little bit of anger in there that is absolutely appropriate because it's part of the recipe. Just like I mostly use cake as the recipe, but if you're making soup or a stew or whatever, like you're going to need that dash of vinegar. You're going to need a little vinegar. You're going to need that dash of black pepper or whatever, red pepper flakes. It's like, like that wakes everything up. Or even when you are making chocolate pastries, Salt wakes up chocolate, but not a gallon of salt. A pinch of salt. If you are making some kind of truffles or whatever, you put a pinch of salt in there, and that wakes up everything that you're eating when you have the chocolate in your mouth too. That is what God or unity consciousness is supposed to be. There is an overwhelming amount of love, compassion, sweetness, nourishing, all of these characteristics that we would consider to be like, hooray. And then there are dashes of characteristics that we would consider to be like those are like, anger, saltiness, vinegary stuff. Like these are things that are lemon juice, lemon tartness, all of those types of things. Like you want to have a little bit of that in the recipe, but not an overwhelming amount. But it's still crucial to have those flavors in the overall recipe of white light consciousness, because if you don't have the red pepper flakes of anger, then you're a total cosmic doormat. Like, walk all over me. I'm not going to do anything about you. I'm so happy. Like, stab me in the face. But you're not like that. You're like, you know something? I'm so happy. I'm God. But if you cross this boundary, then my red pepper flakes come up and I'm going to be very, very angry. And don't do these things to me. All right. You got it? That's how it's supposed to be, like an incredibly loving presence that has very, very, very clear boundaries. And when those boundaries are crossed, very, very, very clear responses will happen. But not a needlessly violent psychopath, as deity is sometimes presented in some earthly religious holy writings. So the recipe for God consciousness is a divine recipe for characteristics that is actually a very positive, empowering recipe. And this backbends to the earlier part of my presentation today, when I told you that I don't want to present to you some kind of vanilla pablum, like, you know, when your mom makes you a cereal when you're a little tiny baby and it just kind of tastes like nothing. You're just like, here, like have this, kind of like, you know, it's just nothing food. It just doesn't taste like anything. It's not too distressing to a baby's delicate digestion. The ascended masters are not vanilla milkshakes, and God is not some kind of like vanilla pablum. I'm really telling you this. Every single one of them has all of these characteristics, everything from sweetness to vinegar and salt and tartness. And you're supposed to have all of that. So please be loving in yourself. And this is really what that teaching that I did called Loving All Aspects of Self is really all about, the sense that you are a microcosm of the larger fabric of reality, and that the balance of these characteristics within yourself represents a positive and divine recipe or harmonic architecture. Something happened on my settings of my piano that made it sound very funny, but it still sounds okay. Divine recipe. But let's also look at what's been happening due to the profusion of technology in our world. When I talk about galactic history and lesson 18, some technology using space races, which would be the definition of either like vinegar or 100% black pepper and with red pepper flakes and habanero, you know, mixed in with that, through technology, like middle spaceships have decided to create a recipe that is like 99% habanero hot sauce throughout the cosmos. And they poured a bunch of hot sauce on top of our solar system, and they created the asteroid belt, and they killed the magnetosphere of both Mercury and Venus and Mars. And then the hot sauce came into our genetic code. You got it? And we don't want to have 99% hot sauce in our genetic code. It's totally out of balance. Totally, it's violence, psychopathology, self-destruction, addiction, anger. Even though anger can be, again, a setting of boundaries, it's very appropriate, but way too much hot sauce throughout the galaxy, throughout larger considerations. And then there has to be a reduction of hot sauce in the cosmic soup, because otherwise it is literally inedible. It is this. That is not music. It's too much hot sauce. It's not going to stay alive. Staying alive is not going to be staying alive. Pedro says, like the experiments with a speaker and different frequencies that make dust in different patterns. Thank you, Pedro. Very, very appreciative of your comment. That is literally what cymatics is. You can put a speaker where my hand is over here, and then a larger plate or vibrating platter on top of it. The amplified sound waves jiggle the atmosphere, activate that plate, and you can have baby powder, talcum powder, very fine sand, something like that on the top of it. And when it vibrates, it makes pictures that look exactly like what I've got on my paintings back there, what I've got printed on my dress over here. All of these are visual harmonics. I will confess to you now, since I have a bit more time, and I'm like, I have so many anecdotes to tell you. So when I first came here as Aurora, again, I was mostly visually centered in the terms of sharing this cosmic truth, and then later auditorily centered. I made a lot of these early paintings that I share with you still in class, and I presented one of them to an like a group show, and someone came up to me at that group show, and this was like 2005 or so, so I had literally been here for 4 years as Aurora, as a walk-in, and they said, "You are painting harmonics." And I didn't even know what the word meant. And I nodded. I was like, mm-hmm. And I took out my notebook and I wrote down harmonics. And then I literally went home and looked up the word. I came here without knowing a huge amount. I did not have a very extensive earth vocabulary. I did not have a very extensive knowledge of earth science or engineering terms or any of the things that I've been talking about you now. All of that has been through self-education. So as I read about harmonics and learned what it was, I was like, I am painting visual harmonics. And then it was still many years subsequent to that before I started to get to a level of comprehension and facility with auditory harmonics. So when I go back and I show you this, because now I have a little bit more time, let's do screen share and show you this. How did I learn the piano keyboard? I literally, when I first got a piano in like 2007 or 2008, drew a little picture that looks like what's at the bottom here with rainbows on my keyboard. I didn't actually draw on my keyboard because I have still the same piano. I didn't want to ruin my piano. But you know what they make now for young people and beginners? They make these little Post-it stickers, removable things. You can make your piano keyboard colored according to the rainbow, because in my neurology and my synesthesia, what made sense, I could understand. I don't know if I went through musical formalism with you. This is a C, just like the letters of the alphabet, C. C, but why did my piano sound so weird? C, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to A, B, C. It was very difficult for me originally to comprehend these letters of the alphabet, but I could understand red, and then orange, and then yellow, and then green, and then light blue, and then dark blue, and then violet, and then back up to C. So for me, in my mind, B over here is always going to be violet. Whenever I am playing, I get up in the morning now and it is second nature to me because I've been playing my music so much, and that is just normal for me. And I have mastered this type of language that is a language played through like the wiggling of my fingertips, but I still see and internalize the keyboard as if it is a rainbow, and that makes sense to me. So these are different rainbow patterns that fit together. What does this sound like? It sounds like beautiful music, because what's happening is there are organized sound waves that are reaching my ears. And when you look at my paintings, you'll also see like there's a great amount of organizational principle and symmetrical repetitive pattern. I can contrast this with the work of a famous artist like Jackson Pollock, who did the paint spatters everywhere, not regular, not symmetrical, not measured in any way, and very spontaneous. So my artwork started out as being the exploration of these perfect circles and how they all fit together in mathematical perfection, and then moved into my creative expression, moved into how do sound waves fit together in mathematical perfection. I should actually, hold on one second. I should actually grab my templates over here. Where's my templates? Here. So these are some of what I had laser cut for students in the class last year. And again, you can contact me if you want to do this. Like, it wasn't a project that I did in order to profit. It was just done at cost with a laser cutter. Like, but it was different. The video that I did was difficult to see because they're all clear. So I have to set up my camera different and better, but we can have a drawing lesson. Here's a 6-inch circle, right? And you can see it kind of on the glare over here. And then here's a 4-inch circle. Let's see here. This is really good. a 3-inch circle and a 6-inch circle. And you can see how 2 3-inch circles fit inside of there. Initially, I did not have math skills at all. Like I totally came here like a person that has had brain damage without the capacity to really comprehend numbers. And I was numerically illiterate and I did not have any level of comfort in comprehending like the number 3 or the number 6. But I could comprehend very easily and understand very easily circles coming together. So my way of making these paintings is to get a big giant piece of paper and actually draw these circles and actually see what happens. Like if I draw this circle and I draw this circle, then I know I can put one of these circles touching on it in just the right way. There end up being these very regular places that are like it within this circle. I'm like, oh, I can fit a 2-inch circle there. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll do a drawing. This is my violet sized circle at 1.7 inches. And I'll be like, wait, that I can fit one of these there. I can fit one of these there. So it's a very, very different way of working with math that is not necessarily approaching it as a math formula, which then creates the image that I'm creating. I'm creating the image and I'm figuring out the way that these circles are allowed to fit in there according to a harmonic code. I am voluntarily conforming to the larger musical score of the cosmos because I want to stay alive and I want to exemplify that information to the rest of the cosmos so that everybody stays alive. So Jackson Pollock was like, I want to throw paint everywhere. And I'm like, you know something? I want to follow the rules. And that is part of when we talk about characteristics, basic nature, following the rules that are the cosmic rules. So again, I don't follow random or arbitrary rules of just anybody that comes along and says, I am an authority figure, listen to me. And be like, okay, I'll listen to you. No. Following the rules as a positive personality characteristic when they're divine architecture rules. That's a positive personality characteristic because that is what keeps you alive and keeps everything in the world alive. You're like, you know something? I'm going to follow the rules of God or divine intelligence or divine willpower. That is what actually keeps you alive. So Marie, I really like the song that I was playing. She's like, make that a real song for everybody. I promise you I will. Be like, this is the song that I write when I'm staying alive. Great. Nicole sent me a direct message. I will talk with you about that. And she says, Pedro says, kick the pooties to entropy with unconditional love. Yes. Yes. And I celebrate what you are saying because literally when you do that, this is how you heal the world in 3 easy steps. You claim sovereignty of the boundaries of the definition of you. Aurora, how do I define me? That's easy. I want everybody right now who's got a body. Like, move your arms and legs, move your arms and legs. That's you. You're moving your arms and legs. You get it? Like, did you guys move my arms and legs? No. Aurora moved Aurora's arms and legs. Did a bunch of pooties move Aurora's arms and legs? No. Aurora moves Aurora's arms and legs. These are the definition of my boundaries as defined by my willpower. If I cannot reach inside of your body and move your arms and legs and then take responsibility for the things that I have done with your arms and legs, I am not part of you. I am not responsible to you. That's your individual energetic boundary. Step 1, claim and define your energetic boundaries. Step 2, kick out everything that is not you from inside of your energetic boundaries. So that would be like saying my art studio here represents my energetic boundaries. And you have a door right here. And if someone else was in here like, Aurora, I'm going to steal your paintbrush and Jackson Pollock over all of your paintings, I'd be like, no, don't do that. And they're about to splatter paint. I'd be like, kick you out. Get out. I'd stick them out the front door of my studio. I'd slam the door behind them and I would make certain that they could never come in again. And then in doing that and in everybody ejecting from the art studio of their being, these interlopers and hijackers who do not wish to follow or conform to the harmonic patterns of the cosmos and play beautiful music, you end up creating a radiative healing to all of these other layers of being. because like they can't just jump out of my art studio and then go into your art studio. You kick them out too. And they're just going to be kind of like float. They're going to be shrugging and floating. They're going to be like, we don't have an art studio to be in. Your art studio is your body. They came into human bodies because they did not have bodies to be in. They destroyed their art studios, and they destroyed them so magnificently and so effectively that they essentially are stuck on the membranes of time. They haven't had the gas in their car to be able to even get back to the source. And instead of taking responsibility, they're like, I really screwed myself over here. I think I will evade responsibility and hijack your art studio and then try to be in there. And that is totally unacceptable. So to reiterate, reclaiming your cosmic architecture and healing everything in 3 easy steps: create energetic, reclaim or re-explore your energetic boundaries, kick out any invaders that are inside of your boundaries that don't belong there, and then voluntarily conform to musical patterns of the cosmos. And when we do this, it's what we are presently doing on our planet. First of all, everyone who is involved in their own healing work, I applaud you. You are kicking out invaders from your art studio who don't belong there. When you're doing ancestral healing in your own lineage, you are helping to kick those consciousness invaders out from your entire family. When you are kicking out those consciousness invaders from your government systems, religious systems, social dynamics, architecture, ecological systems, economic systems, you're kicking them out of the basis of how you organize your life and your dynamics, then you are also causing an enormous healing. And then the next part of it is, like, I've joked about this with many people, like, you live in an apartment building that has cockroaches. One apartment is going to do the roach bomb. You're going to become inhabitable for the roaches, and the roaches will be like, don't worry, like, we'll just go next door. Got to make sure that these pooties don't just go into the next dimension, that they actually have a resolution, which is literally the path to entropy. So that's also part of this recipe for resolution. Can't be in my art studio, that is my body. I'm kicking you out, but also you need to go somewhere instead of suffering endlessly. And let's not put you in theological Christian hell. Go to entropy, and then you've got a place to go. So that is what this is all about, kicking out the pooties to go to entropy. When you get out of my art studio, you don't just have to hang around as a vagrant, freezing in the cold. You actually can go to entropy, but it's absolutely essential that you not enable any of these vagrants to be sustained. Why is Cheeky barking? Hold on a second here. Hold on a second, guys. On to Trish's question. Trish says, this is it, Aurora. By taking them out, meaning recognizing the divinity in us from the pooties, and once we do, it is automatic entropy, sort of red card, caught up, cheating, identity theft, because they do have no identity and hence non-existent. Constructed, yes, but never created. Very, very well said. I got your telepathic shorthand. So again, really, just like similarly to the way that I have followed back to the non-causality structure of, like, these two tunnels don't actually fit together. How did the guys from Mars actually get to Earth, and why is everything so effed up? When we actually look at the guys from Mars, they actually are non-existent. They actually do not even have personality characteristics or a sense of existence. They are not eternal songs of reality that are being played. You are songs of reality that are being played. And you're going on your soul's journey. They are not songs of reality that are being played. They don't have longevity and coherence. And that's why they don't have art studios or places to be. So theoretically and in experience, those guys don't even actually exist. And a lot of my work has been about, I want to say communicating to them, not interacting with them, communicating to them like, hey, You guys don't even exist. Go to entropy. It's where you'll be happiest. Yeah. I know it's complex stuff. We get into very complex things like how can they exist? But they're here somehow. But how can I be? It's like I'm like scrubbing at a stain that doesn't even really exist, and it doesn't make sense. Thank you, Trish. Thank you for that beautiful message. Yes, Atom, absolutely. So contact me. I'll talk with you all about it. Yes, this one right here. Yes, I have prints of that. I'll be very, very happy to share that with you. Trisha says, Aurora, by ejecting it, does put it to entropy. Any cosmic and earthly pacts people have made while in denial or asleep autopilot. This is really, really good questions about consent. Because the way that I understand cosmic consent, if you are not fully informed and fully sober, and by that I mean like no one has sprayed mind control, magic dust into your face to be like, now you're hypnotized and you'll listen to me and everything like that, then the pacts have to do with consent that people have made as acquiescence, convenience, and ways of allowing things to come inside of them and act through them that they don't really want. Let's say that there's the Jackson Pollock hijacker that's in my art studio, poised with a paintbrush and a bucket of paint, and is like, Aurora, I want to splatter paint all over your paintings. And I'm like, wait, stop, don't, not my perfect paintings. And they're like, oh yeah? Well, how about if we make a deal? Let's make a deal. What about if I let you eat steak in the Matrix and give you a very comfortable, comfy life? You know what I'm talking about, eat steak in the Matrix from that particular character. And you let me splatter paint all over here and all over everyone else's art studios too, and I'll give you a lot of money and a very comfortable life, maybe even make you famous. And be like, if I have no integrity, be like, let me think about that. That sounds great. I'm only like losing my soul and destroying my soul architecture and destroying my body and betraying God and betraying my planet and betraying every other life form on my planet and all other people. But I would moderately profit by it. Sign me right up. Okay, of course, I would never, ever do that. But that's what we're talking about. Some people have no personal integrity and they do make pacts or agreements and consent with some of these beings. But sometimes their consent is under torture or coercion, like this. You're gonna let me do this, right? And they're like, okay, I'll let you do this. Like it's not real consent. And sometimes the consent is this. How about I inject you with something first and then see if you want to consent? Hey, is it okay if I spread that paint all around your studio again? Like, yeah, after those injections, thank you very much. You can do whatever you want in my life and in our planet. Totally not acceptable, of course, totally not acceptable. And I understand the idea that people would want to get rid of their chakras because they're like, this is a huge vulnerability. Things are trying to control me through my chakras. But really what this experience is a reclaiming of your chakras and a re-empowerment where you will never be hijacked again. That all of those software vulnerabilities that have allowed for something that is non-you to ever come inside of you and have some kind of a negative effect or make things happen that are not supposed to happen will never happen to you again. And those that lack integrity, they might not be able to be in existence anymore because this is very much spiritual weightlifting where you grow greater integrity. And if you don't have integrity, like you can't be in the band. If you don't play good music, and if you don't voluntarily follow this good music, if you don't follow that music, and also if you don't protect that music and fight for that music with everything you have, there's real questions about whether you can be in the band. And being in the band means being like on the level of a sun or a star or what humans would call coherent light, being ascended master. Fight for it. You got to fight to protect it. God as ephemeral, time as ephemeral, the idea of it requiring protection and nourishment to continue to be a waveform phenomenon that is in existence that can even sustain you. Responsibility to the whole and not just responsibility to yourself. Not taking things for granted, like, oh, the fabric of reality, it's just there for me to exploit and take whatever I want fabric of reality is there because I love you, fabric of reality. Thank you for sustaining me and being in existence. I'm gonna fight for you. I'm gonna fight for you. I'm gonna fight for you because I love you. And how do you fight? Again, not with projectile weapons or pew pew lasers, but with the structural integrity of your body. And that is cosmic law to say, I am going to be shaped like this. I am going to be shaped like this. I am going to be shaped like this. And it's totally within your right as an embodiment person to be able to do that. And when you do that, you take a stand, it has a huge effect, a huge implication. In the same way that those who have lack of integrity and lack of willpower and don't take a stand, they're like, okay, here, take my paintbrush, paint whatever you want, just let me eat steak in the matrix. That also has an effect. Create boundaries, take a stand, protect the time field. This has a huge impact on reality. And Melissa says, almost seems like all nefarious was AI created. If the Pooties don't really exist, maybe they were only programmed to exist. I think that there are a lot of, that the answer has a very similar flavor to that. The sense of these Pooties being illusory, like based in illusion, something that does not have its own presence, but that requires our attention or attentiveness to sustain them, which also speaks to them as distractionary forces, where they're like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And you're like, I can't not look at you. And my looking at you through observership is kind of making you into being, but I don't want to blame the victim because totally, guys, please listen to me. It's not your fault that you have been totally distracted by this stuff that's going on and that you have used your observership to believe it into being, because we also exist in terms of pragmatic experiences of moving through reality structures. Trish is agreeing with me. She says, exactly, and this is how exists through us. Yeah, they exist through us, but we are not consciously giving birth to them as portals. Yeah, our perception is being hijacked through this sense of distraction. Because what are you supposed to do if you have a Christ chakra and someone else is beaming all sorts of illusory light into your Christ chakra? What are you supposed to do about it? So this is also about Christ coming into a Christhood and claiming these faculties, again, in ancient Atlantis, like we all are Christ, we all have these activated higher superpowers. What are we doing with our superpowers? We got to have some kind of a way to be able to protect ourselves from illusions and be certain not to re-emanate errant signals, to have a filter so that either those signals do not come inside of us, or if those signals come inside of us through our filter, that we are able to recognize them and not re-emit them as reality. That is literally the spiritual weightlifting that every single one of us is doing here in this time place as we are reclaiming our Christ powers. And it is inevitable. Like that's what I wrote in the end of my notes over here. Big job, big healing, but it is quite inevitable. Your individuated Christ chakras, the awakening of this planet, the functionality of this planet has all been harmed, but let's contextualize this. This is like saying we have a family where Aunt Mercury and Aunt Venus have both been horribly murdered and their dead corpse is floating around in the sky. Uncle Mars also is like chopped up, like beheaded with like blood gushing out, like there's Uncle Mars. Then there's like the Tiamat planet that's chopped up into pieces, strewn about the backyard. And then there's what's going on with us, all right? Contextualizing that does not normalize it, not make it okay, but it does give some structural comprehension to what is happening in your own life and also the direness of your circumstance. You're like, well, they did that to that guy and that to that guy and that to that guy. Like, I can't even make my eyes big enough. What are they going to do to me? Yeah, you better actually do something, because what are they going to do to you? Those are all cautionary tales that you don't want to have happen to your own planet. There's got to be something that you can do in response to all of this. And again, I feel that a huge part of this is, when I say spiritual weightlifting, I don't want it even to sound like, oh, it's just a strengthening exercise. Like, no, it's actually the survival of your soul and the survival of your consciousness and the longevity of your consciousness. So Trish says, when you overlook, they disappear. Some of it is just don't look and they will disappear. But what I consciously do is retract my energy from them. So because I interact with them or communicate with them quite a lot, and they're like, blah, look at me, blah, look at me. And I can just be like, la, 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 I'm doing my life and everything. But they're still like, blah, look at me, look at me, look at me. And what I've started to do is actually take my energy back from them. Like, oh, you took 5 units of my energy. Yoink, I'll take that back. Oh, and you've got 10 units of my energy here. Yoink, I'll take that back. And as I do that, their voices become diminished and their capacitations to come in front of me become diminished because they literally don't have any energy to do that anymore. So it's a very advanced thing to be able to do that. And I want each one of you to work up to those levels of capacitation. That is the sending to entropy of signals that are inside of your own art studio that don't belong there. Be like, you don't belong here. Stop crapping up my artwork. I'm taking my paint back from you, taking my paintbrush back from you. Like imagine just like this, taking my paintbrush back, get out, you're not allowed to be here. You're not allowed to have my supplies. The supplies are what? Energy that is supposed to be energy of unconditional love, but that they are siphoning off. Got it? She says, and retroactive to rectifying the old steals. Definitely. Definitely. So I haven't spoken about this. Oh, and actually I'm about to wrap it up. What another thing that works very effectively are all of these sovereignty declarations and conscious contract revocations. So in 3 steps as to how to heal yourself and heal your planet, creating and recognizing those boundaries of who and what you are, you can exert those boundaries verbally using language in the sense of saying, this is who I am, and this is who I am not, and this is who is allowed to be here, and this is who is not allowed to be here. And you know what I say in my mind 10 million times a day right now? No consent. And people practice this. I didn't invent this, but to say, I do not consent. I don't consent to that. And also no contract, which is big. And I've been talking about this in my class a little bit, the sense of saying, I do not have a contract or an agreement to either uphold your existence or give energy to you or interact with you or validate you or anything with you at all. And when these things are like distraction, I want energy, give birth to me as a consciousness, be like, I do not have a contract with you. I have no contract and no agreement with you to bring you as an errant signal into being through my own experience nature. And I do have a contract with God, the divine presence, and the creator that created me, and with the larger architecture of light that is pure consciousness, that I am in a process of cosmic lovemaking and cosmic becoming with that beautiful organism, organized light presence. That's whom I have a commitment with or a contract with, but I do not have a contract or agreement with invaders from Mars or Pooties from the residual singularity, go skimming around the toilet rim of the singularity. I have no contract with them. I have no agreement with them. And these are big, but it also takes a lot to be able to stand up to very, sometimes like negative. These are things that are in profound levels of self-destruction and corruption. Like imagine a corrupted hard drive. You're like, wait, hold up a hard drive. The information on this hard drive is corrupt. And when you interact with it, it's going to act corrupt. It's not going to act like, oh, pardon me, my mistake. Let me just jump out of your body. It's gonna, like, sometimes they double down. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know that I'm here and you know that I'm corrupt and I'm not just gonna jump out and be easy about it. And then it becomes necessary to use some lemon juice or some vinegar to be able to exert your boundaries. Big. Do you get it? So I'm like really sweet, really good, really loving in my inner recipe. And then when you refuse to leave my art studio, then there will be red pepper flakes because this is not acceptable. Please understand that. And that it's all in the proportions of how this goes. What makes music is organized sound waves, and what makes your personality a divine personality is having the proper recipe of life that is sustaining. And I don't want you to be a cosmic doormat, and I want you to be empowered from all the teachings that I share with you. So as always, like I could speak for many, many more hours and play a lot more music with you too. I love to just play music with you and just talk to you through that way. And you guys follow my music all the time. Like I know that Trish and Charlie B have my playlist. I'm always speaking in this beautiful harmonic voice, and it's not always a voice with lyrics, but that's how I feel very, very comfortable sharing these cosmic truths with you. And sometimes they're like you can hear this music is like, bit sad, but sometimes it's like, dun, 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 super happy. Sometimes it's wistful and sad. It expresses so much. The feeling states bring up so much and says so much beyond words. I'm very happy to speak with you about this, but opening the floor now to any more questions, comments, or anything that I can share with you. And as always, encouraging everyone, watch the original recordings from like 9 or 10 years ago at this point, because there's so much meat and potatoes and so much there in terms that I didn't even get to today in terms of the exact proportions, the exact harmonic structures, and also, so it's not part of the recorded curriculum, but if you want me to do a class that's all a drawing class, you can see all of my, my wonderful drawing tools here. I'm happy to lead you through a step-by-step drawing class where you don't see my face, you just see me what I'm drawing, and we can draw that picture of the chakra system in order for you to learn more about your own body and about how your violet chakra absolutely rests upon your heart chakra, and your heart chakra absolutely rests upon your orange emotional chakra, and all of these chakras rest upon the physicality structure known as your physical cellular body. And that is one of the reasons why I'm such a huge proponent of taking really good care of your physical body. And I hope you can see that with me too. Like, why am I always telling you guys, like, drink your structured water? And why am I telling you about my superfood smoothies and my coffee and everything like that? Because the firm foundation of the root chakra and taking care of your physical, cellular, biological body empowers you to do these other things, including kicking the pooties out of your personal body and kicking them out of your planetary architecture. And it's very big, and it's kind of antithetical also from some value systems that say, throw your physical body out the window, like, we're gonna jump into the next dimension, you won't have a body there. And you can tell I'm very different than that. Like, you're like, I'm like, before, like, if you're going to jump into the next dimension, you don't have to care about drinking structured water and eating healthy food, and why even brush your teeth, or why even wear deodorant. Any kind of body care or hygiene should go out the window. I'm like, no, in order to ascend, you have to actually do the best stuff for your body, and you have to be, that's you drinking the best water that you possibly can. That's you eating organic avocados and other stuff that's really healthy for your body. Like, that's you celebrating your physicality structure. And then that is what brings you into these greater levels of crystalline organization that brings you into ascension. You honor the journey of having a physical body. Back through here, Pedro says, love the lasagna, harmonious class today. Thank you so much for that, Pedro. Feel that coming back to me. Thank you for that beautiful love. Thank you for your many, many years of being a student here, and the positivity that you reflect back and what you share with us here. Trisha says, thank you for clarifying the purpose of our collective journey. You are so very welcome. I hope that everything that I teach here is taught within the context of, what does this mean in terms of relevance and salience and importance for me? What does this mean? Like, what does the destruction of planet Tiamat mean to me? What does invasion of planetary Earth and consciousness structure mean to me? How can I respond to it effectively? I hope that I'm always able to give empowerment teachings to all of this. Trish says, reminding us, actually, exactly, reminding you of the things that you can do, and being a total encouragement, a booster and a cheerleader on your inner capacitation to do these things. And also on the truthfulness of this, I will never fill you with helium or hopium or anything like that. Inevitability of your success and your triumph. Inevitability of this painting over here. Inevitable. That means it is baked into your journey. It is baked into your consciousness. It is baked into the planetary structure. There's no way to divorce this end result from the ongoing contextual experience. So please know that that is the real illusion. Don't be too caught up in the falsehoods and the lies that say something else is going to happen. But the peril is real if you believe in and validate those negative reality structures. So please remain very strong in having your own boundaries. I do not believe in to those reality structures. You can say, I don't believe in that. I don't think so. You can also say, I do not consent to that reality structure. And that's a very powerful thing to do in terms of saying, I do not consent to that. And you can also say, I do not have a contract with that reality structure, meaning I do not have an agreement to come here and experience that reality structure. And that can be anything, like when you hear something on the news, it's like possible nuclear war, panic, panic, panic. You can be like, no, I don't think so. I don't lend my energy to that. I don't align with that reality structure. I don't give my creative capacity to that reality structure. I don't consent to that reality structure. I definitely do not have a contract to be incinerated in a nuclear war. That's just one example of what I'm talking about, but it apply that same chain of assertions applies to so much in our earthly experience. I like that. Trisha saying smart shoppers. Very nice. Very nice. So I'll just say if there's any other questions or comments, that's fantastic. If not, I will wrap up the recording because I'm just about at the right time. And again, my profound thanks to everybody who's in this class and who is in alignment with these ideas and with this sharing, and for ingesting these ideas, and for being open to all that I have, and endless encouragement on the continued journey of your longevity through time, and keep staying alive and doing the right music for your body. We should just have a time when I just play music for everyone. I think that would be beautiful. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I won't end the meeting for everyone, but I'll say thank you to everyone who's in the class. Thank you so much. Wrap up the recording.